For a minute, let me test something, then I'll come back. Thank you so very much. The teachers of Kenya, our panelists for today, Kenya Literature Bureau, marketing team, editorial publishing team. Welcome to our final online training on religious education, where we will focus on CRE, Christian religious education, and Islamic religious education. Before we take off, I'd like to request one of our marketing team members, apart from Mr. Nyiri, to start us with a word of prayer. Marketing, Mr. Sembele. Mr. Sembele. Mariana, are you in? Mariana? Mukui, before you step out, can I request you to start us off? Mukui?
Let us believe and pray.
Okay, amen. Exactly.
Let us pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we come before you this morning. We want to say thank you for the grace that you've given us for this day. As we are going to start our training, we pray for your blessings, your guidance. Give us good health and the grace to go through the meeting from the start to the end. I bless you and I glorify you. For in Jesus' name I pray, trusting and believing. Amen.
Thank you so very much. Welcome, our teachers. We are grateful that you are part of us. Isaiah, on behalf of the teachers of Kenya, you've been reliably present in all our webinars. Feel most welcome, and we are honored to have you again during our final leg, along with the other colleagues who are faithfully stuck with Kenya Literature Bureau online trainings. Thank you so very much, Isaiah and the rest of the teachers. Team Kenya Literature Bureau is a state parastatal owned 100% by Kenyan government. By extension, you are the owner of Kenya Literature Bureau. And therefore, the presentation today is done by your organization. And you will take pride in knowing, taking stock of what we have under religious education publishing wing or portfolio. We will also encourage you to learn more from your organization. Before we progress, I'd like to request Mr. Nyiri introduce Kenya Literature Bureau for us. Mr. Nyiri, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Justin Koech. Teachers of this country, my colleagues at the Bureau, Kenya Literature Bureau, and the whole country, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to today's webinar. We have been here for the last 2 weeks or thereabout, and I want to appreciate, just like Justin has said, some of us who have been here with us for all these days. And I think he has called out some of the names. We really appreciate the passion and the love for the organization. Kenya Literature Bureau is an organization owned by the government of Kenya. As we speak now, Kenya Literature Bureau is the only parastatal that is mandated with publishing books for the government, or it's owned by the government. It's the only publishing company owned by the Ministry of Education 100%. And therefore, back in the day, people used to say a publisher who also publishes for the last resort. So everything is available at KLB, considering that we are the company that the government has entrusted with that mandate. Kenya Literature Bureau is not a young organization. I know most of you know KLB as a household name. You have used products from
Mr.
Kenya
Jumba,
Literature.
Mr. Nyiri, do you have a screen you may be sharing?
Yes, I'm attempting to share. Sorry for that. I'm attempting to share here. Is it showing anything?
Just about, yes. Now continue with that part now. Yes, now build the case for this one, as you are doing.
Very good.
Very
good, very good. So there we are. So thank you very sorry for that interruption, teachers and everybody who is participating today. So Kenya Literature Bureau is an organization that was started in 1947 as East African Literature Bureau. Fast forward, in 1980, it was constituted as Kenya Literature Bureau, breaking away from the East African Community and East African Bureau, as you may know, when the collapse of East African Community came. So it stood on its own, and it was established in an Act of Parliament. So you can see how many years we've been around from 1947 and from 1980 as Kenya Literature Bureau. That tells you that we are old enough. We have been tried and tested. Our products have been around for many years. Kenya Literature Bureau prides itself in a few things that we do very right. One of them is producing quality books, because we have top-notch authors that have been teachers, are still teachers. Some are teaching at university levels. Some have been teaching in other levels for many years. They have produced books in the older systems and this system. They have a wide range of knowledge. And together with that, we also have very committed staff, including the editors that assist the authors in preparing those materials. Obviously, I know teachers of this country, the people that you interact with most are our staff in the field. So Kenya Literature Bureau is also represented across the country by very dedicated officers in all our, what we used to call 10 provinces, and others in the counties. And later in the presentation towards the end, we will make you know these people and their dedication. And these are the people who are out there to assist. Now, what is Kenya Literature? What does Kenya Literature Bureau stand for? Or what is this that we pride ourselves to offer to the teacher and the child of this country? As our vision goes, we want to produce a knowledgeable and inspired society through our publishing, through our printing, through our production of learning materials. We want to ensure that the society has knowledge and is also inspired. So our books do not just produce knowledge, but they also want to make the society an inspired society so that they can go into innovation and many other things. So on the screen there, I've also shown you what is our mission, is to provide innovative and competitive publishing and printing solutions. Kindly, the teacher of this country and all of us, I want to repeat that Kenya Literature Bureau does not only offer publishing solution, because we know that the process of publishing finishes with printing, because that is where we achieve quality. So we are a publisher and a printer, and we make that, and we are proud that we are able to produce books that can last in the shelves of our schools for long. Our core values are customer focus, what we may also call customer centricity as the key pillar. We have integrity. We pride ourselves, or we have a culture of creativity and innovation. And last, and I think would be also the most important, is that we have a value of quality publishing and offering printing solutions. And like I have mentioned once or twice, is that we are not just a publisher, we are also mandated to print. And we have a big printing press where once books are prepared by the authors, they are taken to the printing press. Right now, if you walk around our premises, you will find a beehive of activities, because we are currently now printing materials that have been approved by KICD. And then finally, they will get into your hands. So Kenya Literature Bureau is proud to have you with us. This is your organization. If you look around yourself in the house, if those who are in the house or in school, if you pick 3 books, I'm sure 2 will be Kenya Literature Bureau. That's how widely connected we are, and we are very proud of that. We are happy that you have been able to patronize our products, and therefore we encourage you to continue patronizing those products. I want to quickly mention some of the things that we promise to you as our main customer. We have various services that we offer to various institutions and people. One of the services that we offer is publishing educational materials. Publishing mainly would involve getting a manuscript and processing it to become a book. And the teachers who are listening to me today, I want to encourage you, and I think this will be said again and again, if you have a manuscript, may it be a course material, but mainly non-course materials. If you are passionate about writing readers and such materials, we welcome you to come to us. If you give us your manuscript, within not more than 6 months, we will have given you feedback on how the manuscript is. And if it is publishable, then you will walk a journey with our publishing team so that you also become part of Kenya Literature Bureau. If you have something to print, we also do printing. If you want to print a magazine, you want to print any kind of printing apart from money, we are there available. We have a printing press. That's the other service that we offer. Number 3, after publishing, we sell. We make the books available to everyone. We have a customer service center at Kijabe Street, but we also channel our books through bookshops. And we promise you as the consumer of our products that if you call on us within 12 hours, you will have received your product. Within 12 hours, if the product is being sent outside Nairobi, we say 24 hours. But if you're collecting within 12 hours or even within an hour, if you walk to our customer service center, that's how fast we are in making sure that the books are available for your use. Those are a few among many other things. I want to ask you, all of us, to trust us, call on us, visit us, come and see and experience for yourself where this production is done. And because I don't want to dilute too much into the presentations that will come after this, that is the Kenya Literature Bureau in summary. We will continue to understand us as we progress. Thank you very much for coming to this CRE presentation. Personally, as I sit here, I'm a trained teacher of CRE and history, and therefore this is one of the presentations I know which that will benefit many, including myself. Thank you very much, Mr. Koech.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Nyiri, for your introduction of Kenya Literature Bureau to the teachers of Kenya and our stakeholders. We appreciate that presentation. The teachers of Kenya, we want to appreciate you for being part of Kenya Literature Bureau. As has been said by Mr. Nyiri, we do have, as an organization, our mandate is to provide quality readership material. Our mandate is to provide quality readership material in effort of making a knowledgeable and inspired society. We do so through quality publications in hard copy and soft copy. Every other day for the last 10 days or so, we've been meeting together here. We've been mentioning that Kenya Literature Bureau has both hard copies and soft copy in pursuit of producing a knowledgeable and inspired society. It is on this strength, therefore, that we have published the books for all segments, from PP, from preschool, all the way up to the level where we are under CBC curriculum. And in the previous 844, we've had all books for every market segment. If I may use Mr. Nyiri's statement, KLB is the publisher of the last resort. You do not miss anything that you may want, from course material to reference materials. And I want to encourage you, therefore, to patronize, gel with KLB materials for purposes of informing you and even giving you an opportunity to be part of Kenya Literature Bureau fraternity as an author. So KLB, under the CBC curriculum, we do have books for preschool. We have our preschool books, the Skill Grow Read for PP1 and PP2. We have our PP1 and PP2 Skill Grow, where we do have both religious education books, CRE, Christian Religious Education Activity books, and Islamic Religious Education Activity books. This is the wealth of information in equipping you at that level. Once we join the grade system, we do have the visionary brand. The earlier brand was called Skill Grow for preschool. The brand under the grade system, grade 1 to 6, one of the key brands is Visionary, as we have always mentioned. We have both for CRE, Christian Religious Education, and IRE. They have all been revised. The preschool has been revised. The grade has been revised. As you can see on the screen, it is even indicated revised edition in line with the changes in the current, the new competency-based curriculum design. For grade 4, 5, 6, we equally have the middle level. We equally have the Visionary brand for CRE and Visionary brand for IRE. Along this point, we do have another resource material. I will include in another clip later, the encyclopedia, which we have developed in making sure that you are a well-equipped teacher for grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, Visionary Encyclopedia, where we do have both religious education course materials captured there. For the JSS, we do have the Top Scholar brand. The Top Scholar brand, we have the CRE, Christian Religious Education course material, and the Islamic Religious Education course material. Across from PP1 all the way to grade 9, we have the learner's book and the teacher's guide. Lastly, this is a new baby, I'm sure, and unless you've bought your book this week or last week, most of you have not had a chance to relate to this book. We encourage you to have this book, because we, just like Kiswahili we had yesterday, IRE, Christian Religious Education is also available. We do have IRE also, which is available and is government supplied. Under GOK supply, you will get this book. We are one of the most prolific in religious education publishers, who has published sufficiently to all levels every other time. And that is why we have grade 9 Christian religious education. So what do all these books have? What are these? What is the composition of these books? What do they have? You will not, just like for purposes of being quality, in our mission statement, we are saying we shall provide innovative publishing and printing solution, quality publishing and printing solution. Quality in the light of education means it meets all the CBC principles. It meets all the qualities of a good book. Among the qualities of a good book generally would be in terms of language. Is the language appropriate to the child? Do we use hard language like discuss the discourse? We don't. Or have the learners of PP1 fathomed the content under IRE? We don't. We are simple for effective communication. So we mind the language that we use, the language used across board, because we're not testing the harshness of the language, the difficulty of the language. We are testing the understanding. We are making sure the understanding and communication of the content under the discussion. So we write our books in simple language. Our books are illustrative. As our authors and panelists will say today, illustrations will be drawn from the learner's environment, so that our learners will constantly see the illustrations in our books. They can relate the illustrations with where they come from. We have, even in the numbers which we use, are real. We don't use very, very small numbers or huge distances when giving a certain measurement. Like we use a distance of, let's say, equator. We don't use such. We could use the size of the waist of an average standard grade PP1 or grade 8. The waist circumference, for instance, when you want to do the circumference, when you want to give the distance, assuming that can be a linkage you want to pass in any of the religious studies book, we would not use the circumference of the earth or the diameter using the equator. We will not use that kind of information. We use as real numbers as we can afford. Coming to CBC, you will not, and I encourage you to enjoy your books. Enjoy the books from Kenya Literature Bureau, because it is here that you will see the books meeting the 7 competencies efficiently, effortlessly, through the activities, through the work, through the assessment, and through the various pedagogies. It shall be spelled out or have been spelled out and dictated by the design. The linkages between one learning area to another learning area is efficiently done. The values will be effortlessly presented in our books. That is why we want to create the most quality teacher this country can ever have through the publications we have. And not to mention the others. I will want, therefore, on the strength of this, say Kenya Literature Bureau is your organization for learning and teaching resources. We encourage all of you to be part of Kenya Literature Bureau. And at this juncture, I want to invite our editor for CRE, the Mr. Harrison White, to take us from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Justin Coach. Kindly confirm that I'm audible enough from your end.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so to our esteemed teachers, parents, and those who are attending, a very good morning to you all. My name is Harrison White, and I am the editor for CRE. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this webinar session and to thank you most sincerely for creating time to be part of this presentation. I wish to also recognize Mr. Murega and our authors who took part in the development and the revision of our titles. For this session, we shall have three facilitators, that is our author, Caroline Moige, Mr. Murega, and myself. Caroline Moige will take us through the approaches in the learning area. Mr. Murega will take us through the assessment, and I'll do the general overview of the learning area and the structure of our books.
Mr. Harrison, the screen is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The screen is yours.
Thank you. So I will start by saying that CRE is one of the learning areas in our curriculum, and it aims at expounding the systems of beliefs of an individual and the society. In education, the role of CRE is to develop in the learner awareness and appreciation of the generosity and love of God. It also aims to inculcate qualities and values such as sharing, respect, kindness, and forgiveness, which makes them the learner responsible citizens and who can coexist peacefully. Religious education also endeavors to equip the learner with the life skills such as assertiveness, self-esteem, self-awareness, negotiation, conflict resolution, critical thinking, creative thinking, and decision making. These skills are very important in the general well-being of an individual. I want to put on the record that unlike other learning areas, CRE was not merged within a learning area, but it was revised in line with the revised KCD curriculums. And from the onset, I want to say that we are KCD compliant, and we develop our books with the guidance of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Design. Content in this learning area is always spiraling from one level to another under the following themes: creation, the Holy Bible, life of Jesus Christ, the church, and Christian living. So those are the main strands in our religious books. As KLB, we aspire to make quality teaching and learning materials. So I want to say that the recent revision of our books would not have come at any other better time than this. Most of our titles, especially for the lower levels, we developed them in around 2018, when people and most stakeholders in the education sector were grappling to understand the competency-based curriculum. However, we have made deliberate efforts to ensure that during this revision, we revamp our books to reflect the new designs and to make it easier for the learner to use, to make it learner-friendly, and in a way that the learner can easily grasp content without struggling. To necessitate this, we have a structure, which I will be sharing a few. This structure is we've tried and tested and seen that it is really working, and it makes our book easier to use. So when arranging content for this level, we usually have the strand in the beginning, followed by the, allow me to share the screen. Okay. I hope you're seeing the screen from your ends. So our structure is content in this learning area is developed following the following steps. We have the strand and then the substrand. So immediately after the substrand, we have a section that we call get ready for the lower levels. Let us remember for grade 4 to grade 6, and let us explore for the junior school level. This section provides a linkage to what the learner had done in the previous grades. Remember, I said that content in this in this learning area is spiraling. It is progressing from one grade to another. So in this section of Get Ready, we try to link what the learner has previously learned to what they are about to learn, while also attempting to introduce the content in the new grade. The next step is the subheading. This subheading is mainly derived from the learning outcomes as outlined in the curriculum designs. So those informs the headings of our titles. After the subheadings, we have the activities. Our activities are derived from the suggested learning experiences outlined in the design, the key inquiry questions, and also the author's creativity comes in handy at this point. We try as much as possible to make our activities varied and inclusive so that we accommodate learners. While also developing these activities, we try to incorporate the tenets of CBC, that is, the pertinent and contemporary issues, the core competencies, and the values, while also trying to link them to other learning areas. The next step that we have is for the lower level, we call it Let Us Learn, and for the junior level, junior school, we are calling it Tech Note. In this section, we try to provide summarized notes to answer to what the learner did in the activities. Remember, CBC mostly is an inquiry-based kind of learning. So we usually attempt to give the learners activities first and then furnish them with summarized notes. After the Let Us Learn section, we have what we call Think About This. In the Think About This section, we provide imaginary and real scenarios. And in this section, we put the learner to test to see if they can really apply what they've learned in the substrand. So the Think About This section jogs the mind of the learner and makes them to apply what they have learned. After that, we have the segment that we call What I Have Learned and What I Will Do. The What I Have Learned section provide main points the learner has learned in a particular substrand in a summarized way. After the What I Have Learned, we go to What I Will Do. The What I Will Do section deals with the things that the learners are expected to do based on the particular skills and knowledge that they have acquired in the learning area. It is therefore important for learners to, for the teacher to check if the learners are implementing or exhibiting behavior based on what they've acquired in that particular substrand. After the What I Have Learned, we usually have the extended activities. These are activities that the learners are expected to do outside their class. It could be a school activity or a take-home activity. This activity could be presented as a school or home activity, and it usually requires more time to be done. It could be with the guidance of the teacher or the parent, and the learners are to bring back the feedback to the teacher to assess. Towards the end of a substrand, we have a progress summary. A progress summary is the learning outcomes in a table form where we expect the learner to rate and gauge themselves based on what they have learned. So they come in two forms. It could be a self-assessment or a peer assessment. So based on this progress summary, the teacher can know if the learner has acquired the concepts in the substrand, or if there needs to be room for the teacher to come in and assist the learner to grasp contents. So towards the end of a strand now, not a substrand, at the end of a strand, it could be under creation or the Holy Bible, we have what we call my test for the lower grades and test yourself for the upper grades. This section provides questions that learners are required to answer to test the understanding of concepts learned in all the substrands under that particular strand. The test yourself or my test is usually in two sections. We have section A, where the questions are simple and structured, and section B, which are application and scenario based to test the learner's critical and creative thinking skills. So that is an overview of our books in brief. And I want to now, at this juncture, throw the ball to my colleague who will touch on the changes that in the old design and the new design and how we have affected them in our learning areas. I want to now invite Caroline Moige. Caroline Moige is our author for the junior secondary level, and we also engaged her during the revision of our Visionary and Top Scholar series. Miss Caroline Moige, kindly.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Harrison. I'd like, therefore, to see our CRE, Madam Caroline. She's coming on board, eh? Thank you. Facilitation is there. Your slides are there. Harrison, nobody is speaking. The voice is not there. Mr. White.
Thank you, Justin. Maybe Mr. Murega, you can, I think Caroline is now joining. Let's give her a minute. Give her a minute, she's joining. Caroline Moige. I guess she's experiencing some technical hitches on her end. Mr. Murega, perhaps you can do the section of assessment as we check with Carol what could be happening on her end.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Murega. For those teachers who could have been, who could have attended yesterday's meeting, I was here as the Kiswahili editor. And don't be surprised, I also edit CRE. I'm here to support Mr. White. And we were expecting one of our others, Caro Moige, to present on the changes that have happened in our curriculum, CRE curriculum designs after the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, but it seems that she is experiencing some challenges with connectivity. So I was to mention something to do with the assessment, and I can utilize this chance to talk about it as we wait for Carol to sort our connectivity. And this actually, it was good for this to come at the very end, but bearing the circumstances, that let us tackle it now. So I will start by saying that now this assessment that I'm talking about is particularly assessment in junior secondary or junior school, whereby learners are expected to be assessed at grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9. And grade 7 and grade 9, we have what we are calling formative assessment. These are assessments that are done by a school by teachers. The exams are manned by teachers. They are marked at school, and the marks are then sent to NEC, whereby the assessment that is done at grade 7 constitutes 20% of the final marks, and at grade 8 the same 20%. Then the summative assessment that they do at the end of the level, which is grade 9, constitutes to 60%, which now altogether makes 100%. So let me start by talking about the formative assessment, and I'm sure teachers of junior school who are here must have interacted with the formative assessments, because they have already been done at grade 7 and grade 8. So they could be aware of some of these things. So the paper that is done at as a formative assessment at grade 7 and grade 8 has a total of 50 marks, and it has 2 sections. That is a section A and section B. And the entire paper is structured. By structured, we mean that learners are supposed to write the answers in full. There is no section where they are given multiple choices. No, they are supposed to write their points. So section A has 30 marks and section B has 20 marks. In section A, most of the questions, or close to all of them, actually, they have 2 marks, which means the learners are supposed to give 2 points to get total marks, though a few of them have 1 mark. Then in section B, all the questions, for the assessments for the formative assessment that have been done so far, they have 4 marks. So it's like it's kind of a standard that they have 4 marks, which means the learners are supposed to give 4 correct points for them to get the total number of marks required for a question. And one thing I would like to mention, as far as these questions are concerned, is that as opposed to the 844 system, where questions were direct, the questions here are what I can call scenario-based. Scenario-based in the sense that, the examiner builds a scenario for the learner, then goes ahead now to ask a question. I'll give an example. I'll give an example from the assessments that were done and from our book, because I'll mention later that we have a revision book for CRE that is covering the entire junior school, and it has several model assessments, both formative and summative. So, for example, there's a question here. During a CRE lesson, you learned about the origin of sin as recorded in the biblical stories of creation. From that reading, state one way in which Adam and Eve sinned against God. In the former system, that question could have been direct. State one way in which Adam and Eve sinned against God. But now the questions are scenario-based, whereby a scenario is built for the learner before they are asked a question.
Mr. Muraga?
Yes.
Let me interrupt you. I
Yes.
think Carol is now on, so
Okay.
maybe she could start with the presentation on the changes.
Okay.
Caroline Moige, karibu.
Caroline, you're not audible. Caroline, no voice. Caroline, no voice. No audio. Caroline, there is no audio. Caroline, I hope you're aware we are not hearing you. In case you're hearing me, we are not hearing you.
Hello, can you
Yes,
hear
audible.
me now?
You're audible.
Okay. Okay, I'm very sorry for that. Technical hitch. I really don't know what is happening, but it's good that you can hear me. Picking up from where my colleague, Mr. White, had left from, we were to go to the rationalization exercise of CRE as a specific subject. And I would want to point out that the Presidential Working Party carried out the rationalization exercise to reduce the workload, content overload that was there from the previous designs that they had done, to reduce overlaps and also the gaps that were there, thus greatly reducing the number of learning areas, but also specifically reducing the content that learners were being exposed to in the specific subjects that they were doing. As Mr. White has mentioned, for CRE, we have creation as a strand, as a topic. We have the Holy Bible. We have the life of Jesus Christ. We have the church. When we come to middle school, that is upper primary, we have Christian Living Today, where learners learn contemporary topics such as sexuality, drug and drug abuse, and use of leisure time and such like things. Then when we come to junior school, for grade 7, we have the introduction of CRE as a subject or learning area, where learners learn why it is important for them to study CRE. And then now, as we progress to grade 8 and 9, we drop the introduction of CRE and we still maintain the Christian Living Today that we have and the other strands. So the strands spiral from grade to grade as the learners progress. So during the rationalization, the changes, specific changes that took place in CRE included the following. Number one, we realized that there were changes in the number of lessons. For some strands and sub-strands, we had the number of lessons increasing. For some, we had them reduced. So that means the content also increased or reduced depending on which substrand had an increase or decrease in the number of lessons. We also had changes in the specific learning outcomes, where we had strands that had additional outcomes that were not there in the previous design, but were there in the new design. So we had additional outcomes in some substrands. We also had outcomes that were removed from some substrands. And then we had some outcomes that were rewarded. You'd find an outcome that maybe read something like elaborate some specific concept has been rewarded to read discuss. Now the verbs changed, so such outcomes were rewarded. Another change that we noted was the introduction of content in the attitudinal outcome. The attitudinal outcome is the last outcome in every substrand that has attitudinal verbs such as appreciate, apply, and things like that. In the previous design, we taught specific substrands, the content from how they started, and then we build them up to ensure that by the end of that substrand or concept, the learners will be able maybe to apply the concept in their life, in their day-to-day lives, or to appreciate whatever they were supposed to appreciate, or to desire to do something. But in this case, KICD, through their curriculum designs, required us to develop content and even activities for such outcomes, such attitudinal outcomes. So you'll realize that in our rationalized books, we have new content in that part. So we have additional content because of that. The other change that we noted was changes in suggested learning experiences. The experiences inform the activities that we have in the books. So in some cases, the experiences that we had in the new designs changed from what were there in the old designs. So you'll find that as you go through a specific substand, you can find that the activities have completely changed in as much as the concept could have remained the same. This emanated from changes in the suggested learning experiences that were there in the new designs. Then we had a reduction of parental engagement activities, which if you compare the new and the old designs, you'll find that the old designs, especially in the lower grades, had lots of such activities that required learners to be helped by their parents or guardians or maybe people in the community. So because of, I think, the challenges that come due to such, there was a reduction of such activities. So you'll also realize that the activities that maybe are called take home are reduced greatly from what we had in the previous designs. Another change that we noted was a reduction of subjects that we could link to CRE. This is because of the mergers, because we understand that there are some subjects that were merged, especially in the junior school. So because of that, it means that there was a reduction in the number of sub-learning areas, that we had. So there was a reduction in learning areas that are linked to CRE. We also noted that there were changes in the key inquiry questions. If you look at the designs, you'll find a column that has key inquiry questions. These questions direct or guide the development of content and also, in some cases, activities. So you will realize that we have activities that are directly linked to the inquiry questions. You'll also realize that we have contents that also emanate from the key inquiry questions. So in some cases, these questions changed, meaning we had to change the activities and also the content that were being developed under the key inquiry questions. Last but not least, we realized that there was introduction of assessment tool for short-term assessments, especially in the TG. These assessment tools are to be used by the teacher to assess specific tasks, activities that the learners do. For example, we have tools like the assessment rubrics, which are given in the designs, where learners are meeting expectations, approaching expectations, below expectations, and things like that. We also had introduction of other tools such as observation schedules. These are supposed to test or to assess learners when they do practical activities that the teacher can assess, such as activities such as maybe developing posters. A teacher can use an observation schedule to look at how a learner maybe cooperates with others when doing such an activity, how a learner communicates and collaborates with others. Now, these are things that a teacher can observe and note down in the observation schedule, or about how a learner, a specific learner, does these things and rates or ranks a learner in them. We have other tools such as checklists, which a teacher is taught. In the teacher's guide, you'll realize that a teacher is taught how to develop these tools. So a teacher will not float. We have guidelines on how to develop such tools that can be helpful in assessing learners in the classroom as they do the specific tasks. So those are some of the things that we had in the rationalized designs. So we are going to see a few examples of how our books captured the changes. On your screens, you can see an example of a change from the curriculum design for grade 3, that is lower primary. We have strand 1, that is creation. We have 1.1, that's the substrand 1.1, self-awareness. In the old design, we have an outcome that reads, a learner is supposed to appreciate himself or herself as created in the image and likeness of God for his glory. That was in the old design. In the new design, this changed. We have said one of the changes was in the outcome. So this is an example of an outcome that changed. In the new design, we have identify themselves as male or female according to Genesis 1:27. So if you look at this, it necessitated a change in content, even activity. And so if you look at this page, now this is the new book, the Rationalized book. If you compare it to the old book, which was developed using the old design, you will realize a change in the content that is here in grade 3. This was informed by the changes that took place in the Rationalized design. So this is an example of an outcome that changed. Next. In the next slide, still in the grade 3 book, we had an outcome in the old design that read, recognize God as the creator of every part of his or her body to glorify him. We are still under creation. In the new design, the outcome changed to describe how they cope with happy or sad feelings. So if you look at this part, you'll realize that there's a total change in the outcome and also a change in the substrand. So in the subheading that is on that page, that means the activity changed and the content in that part also changed. That is still in grade 3, if you happen to get that book and compare the content. Next slide, we are looking at an example still in the grade 3 book. Now here we've moved to strand 2. We have substrand 2.2. Here we are looking at the story of Moses. In the old design, the outcome was narrate what happened in the story of Moses and the burning bush and relate it with the holy places of worship. In the new design, we'll realize that this outcome changed to retell the story of Moses and the burning bush. So because of the changes in the wordings of the outcome, we changed the activities and also the presentation of content under the letters learned, which is a change that you'll realize if you happen to get a copy of this book. Next. We have still under grade 3, in the old design, we have an outcome that read, discuss how Moses expressed obedience and apply it in their daily lives. In the new design, this outcome changed to mention 3 lessons learned from the story of Moses and the burning bush. If you look at the changes that were taking place in these outcomes, they were age and level appropriate. So, for example, a grade 3 learner can be around 8 years old. So in the old design, they were to discuss how Moses expressed obedience and apply it in their lives. In the new designs, they are to mention 3 lessons learned from the story of Moses and the burning bush. If you look at the tasks that are here, that they're supposed to do, it is easier for an 8-year-old, age appropriate and level appropriate, to mention 3 lessons learned from the story of Moses, as opposed to what they were required to do in the old design of discuss, and apply. So those are some of the changes that I think informed the rationalization of the new designs. In the next example, we have substrand 2.2, where there was an additional outcome in the design. So in the old design, we find that we didn't have this outcome. In the new design, we have the outcome, which is attitudinal, that is desire to obey God in their day-to-day lives. If you look at that page that is shown there, the last subheading, obey God in their day-to-day lives, that is where we developed content for this attitudinal outcome that in the previous designs we were not developing. So we have some activities that the learner is supposed to do, and then we have content also in the next page. So here, this is an example of a substrand where we had an additional outcome in the new design as opposed to what was in the old design. Next, we go to grade 5 to look at some of the changes that we had in grade 5. In the old design, we had an outcome that read, identify lessons and values which Christians can apply from the parable of talents in their day-to-day life. In the new design, this outcome changed to apply lessons learned in the parable of the talents in their day-to-day life. It is easier for a grade 5 who is maybe 10 or 11 years old to at least do this task compared to a grade 3 where we were talking about age and level appropriate content. So this is an example of an outcome that was changed. Next slide. We have an example from grade 5 still, where we had an outcome that read, a learner was supposed to appreciate his or her talents by participating in various activities for the benefit of self and others. In the new design, the outcome read, participate in different activities to nurture their talents, gifts, and abilities. So if you look at that page, we have content that shows learners participating in the different activities. So the change here was the removal of that first part of appreciating. So here the learners are going straight into doing where they are participating in the different activities. Next slide. We are looking at an example of a book from junior school, which is grade 8, where we had an outcome in the old design that talked about elaborate the meaning of the term covenant. Here they were doing substrand 2.2, which is Abrahamic covenant. So the outcome here was to elaborate, in the old design was to elaborate the meaning of the term covenant. In the new design, we had a change in the verb. And so here now, they are now discussing the meaning of the term covenant. So here we'll see that the change that is there is in the word discuss and elaborate, is in the tasks they are supposed to do. And then there was also a change in the number of lessons for this substrand. In the old design, we had 6 lessons for this substrand. And in the new design, we had 8 lessons, basing on the outcomes that were there and the tasks that the learners were supposed to have done. So those are some of the changes that we observed and implemented in the rationalized books that we have. So this means that we're all encouraged to get copies of our rationalized books, because we see, in as much as our strands remained the same, creation remained creation, the details inside of the suggested experiences, of the outcomes, of the lessons, those are the changes that took place inside. So you will realize that you could be having a new book and another person an old book, and we have the same maybe strand, substrand, but the details of the activities and the details that we have in the content, in the letters learned, in the take notes are very different. So this means that you're supposed to ensure that we get the new books so that we have KICD compliant, the rationalized changes. We talked about changes that we had in the KIQs, that is key inquiry questions. An example of in grade 8 of a substrand where we had a change in the key inquiry question is the one on your screen right now that reads, why is it important to respect members of the family? That is in the old design. In the new design, the question was changed to how should family members relate with each other? You'll realize as you read the books, if you read the page, the content in the page that is on your screen, there is content developed out of this key inquiry question. And there are also activities that are developed from this. So this shows that there will be changes. There will be changes. If you find this book and go to this specific page, there will be changes in the content that is there. So this also encourages you to encourage your learners and yourselves to use the new rationalized books that we have. Next slide. Yeah, those were some of the examples of pages that show how we captured the changes that we noted in the rationalized designs and which necessitates that we should use our new books. So in our next content, we go to the approaches for teaching and learning. We realize that in the development of the content, and if you go through the teacher's guides, which I really encourage you to do, because you'll find that the content there is very different and the approaches have been elaborated. You are supposed to use the different teaching stroke learning approaches. And the first one that we looked at, we are looking at here is the integrated approach. This approach just incorporates different methods of teaching and learning. It involves the use of questions and answers, lecture method, observation. A teacher, depending on what you're teaching and how your learners are, is supposed to use the different approaches, to integrate the different approaches in teaching. So depending on how your learners are, how your class is, depending on the topic, the substrand, that you're teaching, you are encouraged to use different learning approaches. And if you read through the teacher's guide, you will find specific details of which method you can use, suggested methods to be used for the different substrands. We also use, in this method, we also used concepts that are borrowed from other learning areas that can be applicable to our subject, which is theory. For example, we have activities where learners are required to write. For example, they could be writing an essay or a short story about a concept that they have learned. That way, we'll have integrated writing skills in English, for example, to theory. We can also have learners doing the counting, for example, of the learners in lower grades. There's a miracle, the topic on the miracle of Jesus turning water into wine. We can ask learners to count the jars that were there, that the workers were asked to provide. We can ask learners to count the number of fish and loaves of bread that were there in the miracle of Jesus feeding the 5,000. So we see here, we'll have incorporated the concepts in mathematics to ask our learners to do maybe the physical counting. We'll ask them maybe to draw, to color. That way, we'll have asked them to show their creativity. They'll apply their creative skills. And so in this way, we'll have integrated different concepts, different concepts from other subjects to CRE, and therefore in this way we'll have used the integrated approach. Next approach, case studies. This approach provides practical scenarios that relate the topics that the learners are studying at that particular time with their daily life experiences. If you go through the books, especially the ones in junior school, you will see that these ones have been presented as short stories and scenarios that help to put the concepts that the learners are learning into perspective and to make them relate with what they go through in their daily lives. So in this way, the learners are able to relate what they are learning in theory or in the books to what they experience daily. In the next approach, we go to projects. In this approach, learners are able to apply the concept that they have been taught into practice. It could be done as in groups. Learners could be put in groups and asked to do specific projects, or it could also be done individually. Individual learners could do different tasks, and also whole class. For example, we have in grade 8, which is in junior school, learners are required to undertake a project where they're supposed to organize themselves and visit a children's home to show acts of love. The topic they're studying there is acts of compassion. So they're sharing love. They show how they'll share the love they have with the children in the children's home. So this is a project that takes time to plan. They first ask for permission from the school authority, then they plan how they'll organize themselves, how they'll do the actual visit, what they'll do there. And so this is a project. There's also still in grade 8, a project where they're supposed to come up with a business plan and implement this plan in school up to completion. So these are examples of how we have used these approaches in the books. They are much more well elaborated in the teacher's guides. So I still encourage you to get yourself a copy of the guides, and you will see step by step how to execute this project. The next approach is the institutional approach. This approach makes use of activities that take place in the immediate environment where the learners operate from. And in this case, it is the school. This is where the learners spend most of their time and do most of their tasks and activities that are required for learning. And so in most cases, they involve activities that take place within the class. For example, we have debates, we have role plays that take place inside the classroom. We have presentations that learners do in the school assembly, where they do something and then they come and present. We also have the PPI lessons that also take place within the school. So these ones cut across the books. As you go through them, you will find that there are different varied activities that take place within the immediate environment where the learners are, which is the school. An example we have in grade 6, we have a page that captures the debating activity. In grade 4, we have an example that captures the presentation during the assembly. This can be seen in the slides that are now on your screen for grade 6. And then we have this one captures the debate. And then for grade 4, we have an activity that takes place in the school assembly. So these are some of the approaches that we have. And in the teacher's guide, the teacher has been explained to how to handle these activities to ensure that the outcomes have been achieved. In the next approach, we have the use of resource persons. Yeah, use of resource persons. This approach makes use of experts who are sourced from outside the school. They offer different and additional information and insights into specific topics that the learners learn. In most cases, we have contemporary topics that are under the strand of Christian living today that starts in middle school, grade 4, 5, 6, and it goes through junior school. We have experts who could be invited to school, to class, to come and help shed more light on the specific topics, such as on sexuality, drug and drug abuse, maybe consequences of early marriages, things such as menstruation, things such as proper use of leisure time. Such topics require, I'd call them contemporary topics, and they require additional information and knowledge that learners need, because these learners are part of the society. And so these experts also come from the society, and they could help the learners get different insights, more insights, and different perspectives to the specific concepts that are being taught. So you'll find that in the books, in the learners' books, we have activities that show resource persons being invited to class to help shed more light on specific topics. For example, in grade 6, we have an example of an activity that requires a resource person. In grade 8 also. Next slide, please. Yeah, we have the slides on your screen where we have resource persons being invited to class to come and talk to the learners, to help give them support, give them more insights and additional information into what they could be knowing, but now from a different perspectives that will help the learners in their lives, in their daily lives, and also in their schoolwork. Yeah, so those are some of the ways in which we have captured the changes in the rationalized designs. And so we have our rationalized books that are up to date, and I encourage each one of us to get themselves copies of both the learners' books and the teachers' guides, because they are very insightful, very updated, very different from what we had, and much more helpful to help turn a learner into a holistic person, both in their daily lives and in what they are learning in school, in their schoolwork. Thank you. At this point, I don't know if Murega had finished his presentation. We now go to the assessment, how to assess the learners in what they have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol, for that wonderful presentation. I had already talked about assessment in part, and I'd explained about formative assessment and the sections that are there. I mentioned that there are 2 sections, section A and section B, with section A having 30 marks and section B having 20 marks. And I explained that the questions in the 2 sections are all structured. The only difference is that in section B, learners are required to give more points. That is, the questions require learners to give more points, which I said according to the assessments that have been done so far, the average number of points they are required to give are 4, which gives them 4 marks. Now, talking about summative assessment, there's no summative assessment that has been done so far in the entire country. The only assessment of this nature that has been done is a pilot one. And in this paper, we have the 3 CRE paper summative grade 9. We have 3 sections. We have section A, section B, and section C, whereby the total marks for this paper are 100, with section A carrying 20, section B carrying 40, and section C also carrying 40. That totals to 100. Section A, the 20 questions that will give the learner the 20 marks. They are multiple choice questions with 4 choices, A, B, C, and D, for the learner to choose the right answer. Then section B, whereby we have 40 marks, is a total of 8 questions, each one having 5 marks. So, which means the learner needs to raise. Now, these are structured. The 8 questions, structured questions, each of them 5 marks, where the learner is required to give 5 points for him or her, or for them to earn the 5 marks. And as I mentioned before, all these questions, the section A, section B, and section C, they are scenario-based. And I gave examples of scenario-based questions. And so they are all scenario-based, whether they are multiple choice questions or structured questions, they are all scenario-based. Then section C, which I have mentioned that the marks are also 40, and it is structured. The difference between 8 and section B is that section C has 4 questions, which have A and B, whereby, for example, if you're talking about, let's say, question 9A and question 9B, the A and the B are related. They come from the same substrate. Let me give you an example. This is A. During a CRE lesson, your teacher assigned your group to read Luke 3:7-15 and discuss the message of John the Baptist. Describe 5 key points from his message to the people, 5 marks. Then the B of 8, based on your group discussion, identify 5 values from John the Baptist's message that Christians can apply in their lives today to avoid evils. So you see, the A part of that question and the B part have a relationship. They are both coming from the message of John to the people. Then the other questions will be like that. They are 4 with A, B, A, B, A, B. That totals to 8. With each question having 5 marks, that totals to 40 marks. So section C has 40 marks, section B 40 marks, and section A, which is multiple choice questions, has 20 marks. And that is it for summative assessment. And as I mentioned before, we have a revision book, CRE, JS Top Mark Revision, which is a one-stop shop for a teacher and a learner of CRE in junior school. It tackles the content in grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9 comprehensively, following the format of asking questions in both formative and assessment and summative assessment, so as to prepare learners, to give learners the knowledge required, the skills required, but at the same time, prepare them for assessment, because we all understand that at the end of the day, they need to do well in these assessments, whether formative or summative. So you will find that we have dedicated a good space in the book where we have given many model test assessments, both formative and summative. And we have also given answers so that if the learner is using this book by themselves, for example, now during the holiday, they are able to test themselves. They can tackle the questions, then later on, they look at the answers to check whether they got them right. So these books will be in bookshops very soon, and you should look out for them. They will help the learners to revise what they will have learned in class, the content in grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9, and sufficiently prepare them to tackle the assessments. Thank you very much. I will return this to Mr. White.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morega, for that detailed explanation on the assessment and about our revision book that we are at final stages of preparing. There's a last slide. I want to call Carol to give the highlights of our rationalized books. Carol, kindly.
Okay. The highlights of our rationalized LD series post books that summarizes everything we have talked about. The first point, our books have simple, age and level appropriate language and content. And that's a highlight. Number two, our books adopt an integrated approach to learning through the use of a variety of activities, where we have Bible reading activities, we have debates, we have songs, poems, role play, lessons. And all this embed the tenets of CBC, where through the activities, we have learners acquiring values, PCIs, and also the core competencies that are realized through the activities effortlessly. Learners are able to assess themselves and their peers through the progress summary parts that Mr. White talked about. That is in our books and it's a highlight. We have colorful, attractive artworks, especially for our books in lower grades, pre-primary and lower grades, and the artworks support the content effectively. We also have the tenets of CBC that we've talked about that come out effortlessly in the books, where we have the PCIs, that is pertinent and contemporary issues, core competencies, and the link to other learning areas, as well as the values, because CRE is a value-based subject. Our learners are also able to use the course books on their own. It is not difficult for a learner to go through the book without the help of the teacher or parent or guardian. The learner can do revision and even read ahead and do further activities on their own. That means the books are simple enough to be used by the learners. Our books have well-detailed accompanying teacher's guides, as I've just explained, that guide the teacher on the teaching steps and also the assessments, and on how to use the assessment tools that I briefly talked about, and even how to conduct some activities like role plays and digital activities. They explain in the introduction section. We have a whole section that has been dedicated to show the teacher how to conduct some of these activities and how to use the assessment tools together with the samples, so a teacher will not float. Also, the last highlight, which is very, very important, that Mr. Murega has talked about, our books have an accompanying revision book, which is an equivalent of the Top Mark series for those of you who were able to interact with the Top Mark. This book has samples of both formative assessment and summative assessment tests that Mr. Murega has just talked about that follow the format of NEC. The way NEC sets its exams is the way the sample papers in the revision book are. So with these highlights, I encourage each and every one of us to get themselves copies of our books, both the teacher's guides, learners' books, and even the revision books, because they will be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Madam Caroline Moige Nyakundi. Thank you for that good presentation. As IRE comes on board, I'd like to invite the participants to question and answer session. Let me quickly, Madam Moige, I hope you'll be within so that we can answer questions from these officers.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Let me pick the question. One Muse Mutadia asks, do we apply the given approaches for teaching in all the levels?
I'd answer the teacher by saying the teaching approach one uses, as I had mentioned, depends on the topic under study, the substance that you're teaching, the class, that means the specific learners. We have a mix of learners in our classrooms. We have those who grasp things very fast. We have those who are time takers. We have different topics that require different approaches. So I'll advise the teacher to apply a teaching approach depending on where and how it is applicable. You cannot apply them in a blanket manner because some of them might not be appropriate to some of the topics that will be under study in the classroom.
Thank you. One Yukapeth Nyabondo is asking, what happens when learners are asked to list 4 points, then one writes 5 points?
Now,
during examination. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to mention something to do with that. Mr. Quech, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Murage.
Yeah, if the points are right, if the 5 points are right, because when a question is asked, for example, let's say the achievements of King David, for example, the points are as many as 10. The many things that King David achieved as a king. So if the learner gives 8 and they are all right, they will just get their 4 marks without a problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
They will
One
not be
Alphonse.
penalized.
Thank you.
Mm.
So no penalty will be awarded for giving a wrong answer in between the 4. When out of 5, 4 are right.
Now that one, we can seek clarification from NEC on research.
Thank you.
Yes.
Asante. One Alphonse Ngowa, we are grateful. These are comments. We are grateful. He writes as follows. I thought that KLB was formerly known as Kenya Institute of Education. We are happy that today you've gotten the clarity. Kenya Literature Bureau is not KIE, and KIE no longer exists. Rather, it has been transformed into Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Yes, I pick Rose Care. Good work, presenters. Kindly assist me should have been to understand whether the introduction to CRE taught to G7 is the same thing we were teaching to learners in Form 1. Kindly, this is Rose Care. She says, good work, presenters, and I say thank you on their behalf. kindly assist me to understand whether the introduction to CRE taught to G7 is the same thing we were teaching to learners in Form 1. Panelists, over to you.
I can mention something to do with that. I taught CRE in the 844 system for quite some years. And I vividly remember what we used to teach in the introduction of CRE in Form 1. And now it is being taught in grade 7. It is close to the same thing. Because we are talking about the importance of learning CRE, some of the careers that they can get into through CRE. Yeah, so it's close to the same thing, packaged a little bit different because this is CBC. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the participants to raise their hands and ask their questions directly. There are 2 attendees with 2 questions. Eric Odera, you're invited to raise your question. Unmute Eric Odera and ask your question. Eric Odera, unmute and ask your question. Our technical team, can someone unmute Eric Odera to ask the question? As Eric Odera prepares to ask the question, Felix Wafula, kindly unmute and ask your question. Felix Wafula, you've muted. Have you unmuted? You've disappeared again. Is that Felix or Eric?
Oh, sorry. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Felix Wafula. Probably I'm not a teacher for CRA, but I'm in charge of the academic, and that's why I'm this session. And my question is, I've just joined the session when it is on, which is not so badly. When it comes to the CRA, grade 1 to 3, because I saw like there's some bits of some of the changes in upper primary and more probably the senior school. Do we have any changes in terms of assessment and how we need to assess the learners? And also how we need to score the learners, because I saw CRA like grade 9, grade 7, they have some score, specifically the scores of the formative and the summative assessment. Does this one also affect the lower primary, grade 1 to 3? I think that was my question, yes.
Has your question been picked, Mr. Wafula? Have you picked Wafula's observation? The curriculum master?
Yes.
Has this question been picked?
Yes, we have picked it, Mr. Koech.
You can answer? Is it, you can answer, then we go to IRE.
Yes. As the
Hello,
presenter
yes,
mentioned,
yes.
as the presenter mentioned, there are changes that have happened in the curriculum design, right from grade 1 to 9. So which means grade 1, 2, and 3 are also affected. And she actually went ahead to show some of the changes that have happened, particularly in the learning outcomes. But when it comes to testing, the questions, there are no specific different guidelines from either NEC or KICD regarding testing in the revised curriculum design. So testing in those grades remain the same.
Thank you so very much. I want us appreciate our participants temporarily. We want to welcome the presentation on IRE so that once we move to the question and answer, it shall be continuous. IRE presentation. Idris. 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 The mic is yours. Idris, the mic is yours. Mr. Idris, the mic is yours.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can you get me, sir?
Very true. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Coach, can I be
Yes.
heard on your side?
You are very audible. Go ahead. You are audible.
Thank you very much. I'm very much sorry for the technical challenge that we have had early this morning, but the logistics are the ones that caused that. But I think we can continue with our presentations today. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. We want to thank him for giving us this opportunity to meet today online and share experiences and learn about our new curriculum design and the competence-based curriculum design, especially in relationship to rationalization. So your presenter today is going to be Mr. Idris Matsufu, who is an author of Islamic religious education in Kenya. And I want to say today that the journey of authorship has been a long one, spanning close to 15 years. Earlier on, beginning with the 844 system, until we have now transitioned to the competence-based curriculum design. So today, in our first slide, as we can see, Bwana Harrison, kindly take us to the first slide. Okay, the first one. The objectives of our presentation. We will wish our participant to understand, kindly bring the, to understand the CBC levels, appreciate the rationalized curriculum, and know its impact on Islamic education, to be informed about the Islamic religious education course materials for both the learner and the teacher. And lastly, we wish them to know the competence-based assessment approach that has currently been initiated by Kenya National Examinations Council. Next slide, please. Now, the CBC levels that we have currently are in stages of pre-primary 1 and 2. Lower primary, which takes grades 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, there's a typo there. Upper primary, grades 4, 5, and 6. Junior school for grades 7, 8, and 9. And the senior school that is going to take grades 9. So grade 9, 10, and grade 10, 11, and 12. Sorry, again, there's a typo there. Our books in the market are as shown above. In Islamic religious education, currently we have titled Skill Grow, which is being used by our learners in pre-primary 1 and 2, a very essential book for the early years of our learning. The KLB Visionary IRE is a book that we are going to find under the lower primary and upper primary, that is from grades 1 to grade 6. And then Top Scholar is a very essential book for the grade 9, 10, 11, up to 12, the senior school. And I think at the beginning of this session, our able marketing manager had clearly outlined for us the strengths of these books and shared slides on the expectations of the books in the market. All these books are readily available and well rationalized for use in schools, and they have all been approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Now, there we go, our rationalized curriculum. It's important for our participants to understand that when we talk about a rationalized curriculum, what is the background for rationalization? The Presidential Working Party was tasked to collect views from across Kenya, and they interacted with education stakeholders, among them being teachers, parents, learners, and donors, among others. And it's after this interaction and gathering views that it came to the attention of the country, there was need to rationalize our curriculum. Maybe let's go ahead and see what rationalization actually means. When we rationalize a curriculum, we focus on reduction of learning areas and content through integration of existing content to address three areas: overlaps, overload, and suitability. And for IRE, these three areas came out very clearly when our curriculum was rationalized. We shall see in this presentation that there are some cases of overlap where a common concept or a common theme was being taught in two different strands within the same learning area. So such cases had to be rationalized so that we avoid repetition of concepts. Then overload is unrealistic expectations. This means that a learner is asked or tasked to learn concepts that are beyond their level. It so happened in some of the grades in Islamic religious education, which we shall see, one of the grades had been asked to learn a surah, a selected surah from the Holy Quran, which deemed over and above their level. So after the Presidential Working Party did their job, they made the following recommendations. One, reduction or rationalization of the learning area. This saw some learning areas merged. However, IRE remains independent, and I want to repeat that Islamic religious education remains independent. It was not merged with any other learning area, even though we saw the number of lessons increasing from 3 to 4 in the lower primary. So the experts saw it important that we increase those lessons from 3 to 4 so that the content area can be sufficiently covered. For instance, in pre-primary 1, after rationalization, new content in the strand Quran was introduced. And this is the content of handling the Holy Quran, because we felt that at this level, the learners are expected to know how to handle a holy scripture, and that is the Holy Quran. Likewise, short Surah Al-Fatiha and belief in the prophets were removed because the Presidential Working Force felt that these areas were far much beyond the level that they had been included in. And thirdly, in grade 4, angels Mikael and angel Jibril alayhi salam were moved to a lower grade because they felt that these were angels that are far below the level of grade 4. So instead of them being taught at grade 4, they were moved backwards to grade 1. Thank you. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of the rationalization. The qualities of the prophets in grade 3 was retained under Sirah to avoid overlap, because The same concept was being taught in two strands. That is Sira. Sira means the history of the prophet, the life of Prophet Muhammad. So under Sira in grade 3, it had been suggested that we teach qualities of the prophet, which was also being taught under the same level in the strand Miladun Nabi, Islamic festivals. So we felt that this was redundancy or repetition of concepts, and therefore it was only retained under Sira, and it's now not being taught under the last strand in grade 3, Islamic festivals, Miladun Nabi. So rationalization cuts across all levels, and we may not be able to exhaust all the learning areas within our presentation. Those were just but a few highlights of the areas that were rationalized. Thank you very much. These are the features of our books. And these books, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, they are books you should not miss out in your library. They have a variety of activities that involve the learners, are to the level of the learners, and cater for all learning styles and needs. When you talk about the learning styles, we have the kinesthetic style, those learners who have auditory learners. So all such learners are catered for by the activities that we have in our books. We have also provided for development of the 21st century competencies, values, and PCIs. Kindly, let's see a sample. The next slide. This is a sample activity, and this activity is helping us to see how the 21st century skills have been included in our book. I don't know on your side if you can be able to read these slides, Bwana White, just the activity part. Mr. White, please.
Monedis.
Yes, sir. Kindly read
You're
for
referring
us
to activity 1.
Activity 1.
Activity 1, the title is I use my skill to learn. And question number 1, using a digital device, search from the internet how the Quran was preserved during the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Number 2, write your findings on a chart or PowerPoint presentation. Number 3,
that's
share
enough,
your findings.
Sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So there we have two concepts that, can I get back on?
Yes, Musa. No, Idris, continue. Idris, continue.
Yeah, so there we have the digital literacy as a 21st century core competence, and communication and collaboration, which is also a 21st century competence that we have integrated in our book. Kindly to the next sample activity, which has been picked from our pre-primary one. Okay, coverage of the concepts. In line with the curriculum design, all concepts are in line with our curriculum design. They are to the depth and scope of the learner. So the depth and scope, these are two areas that we must really understand. The curriculum is spiral in nature. There are some concepts that are introduced at an early stage of education, and the same concepts are going to be taught as the learner progresses upwards. So the depth and the scope have only been designed to meet the level of the learners. Then also the concepts are complemented with illustrations, maps, and photographs that are again ready. Kindly go to the illustration. This is a sample illustration that we have from one of our books. This should have been picked from grade 4 book. So the illustration is bringing out a concept that is being taught in this substrand. Next slide, please. This again, another example of our next slide, please. Number 3, development of the 21st century competencies. I've outlined the 21st century competencies, which are 7 in number. The 4 C's: communication and collaboration, critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and imagination, and citizenship, come out very, very clearly in our learner's book, which has been outlined through the learning experiences and activities, then digital literacy, self-efficacy, and learning to learn. All these have been incorporated in the various learning activities in our books. Kindly. We also have a section for the extended learning activities. Extended learning activities are activities that provide opportunities for the learner to participate in outdoor activities. And these outdoor activities are specifically tailored to promote learning or retention of already learned concepts. So the outdoor activities that we have in our books have been clearly explained, and the supervisors of these activities have also been indicated. If the teacher is the one who is going to guide the learners during the activity, the teacher's guide provides guidelines on what the teacher is expected to do. Some of these activities are also going to be done outside school. And the activities that are done outside school are guided either by the teacher or the parents or elder siblings at home or guardians. So again, these activities have been limited because remember, before rationalization, there was an outcry in the country that the parents had been given the responsibilities of the school and the teacher. So we have tried to make them to the minimal and only when necessary in our books. So some of these activities that take place outside the school environment, I would like to see this example, please. The next slide. After this, this is a sample extended activity. Again, I'm going to request Mr. White to read for us activity 1 so that our participant can know.
Activity 1, working as a class. With the guidance from your teacher, visit the nearby marketplace or shopping center. Conduct an interview to find out agreements and contracts done by business people at the marketplace or shopping center. Make notes and do a class presentation.
Thank you very much, White. So here we are expecting our teachers to move out of the classroom environment with the learners, either to the nearby marketplace, and guide the learners as they carry out these interviews. So this is an extended activity that should be planned outside the teaching time. Next slide, please. Types of learning experiences and activities in our books. So again, this one is captured in what we have already looked at, the activities. We have 3 types of learning experiences in our books. The formal learning, which is mainly guided by the teacher. And here we are using the teacher as a guide. We are running away from the teacher being the center of knowledge, the teacher being the source of the teaching. So the teacher is expected to guide the learners during the formal or organized or structured teaching sessions. We have the non-formal that takes place outside the formal learning environment. For example, at the pre-primary one, we can have our learners taking part in the pastoral program instructions. So during the pastoral program instructions, our books clearly guide the learners and the teachers on what to do during such sessions. Then informal, they're taking place outside the school environment, as we have looked earlier at the example of learners going to the marketplace. We have a sample example in the next slide, kindly. Now, when you look at this, the previous one, please, the child and the two elders. No, not this one. Yeah, this one. So this child is practicing Islamic greetings, and this is being done outside the school environment. The child can be with the parents, the child can be with other members of the society, and the child is learning Islamic greetings. So whatever the child has been taught in school, it has added value to the child, and the child is applying that in the real world life. Next slide, kindly. This again, another example of a formal experience. This is an example of a formal experience. Learners here are expected to circle the letters used in the words. So this activity is being done within the classroom. Next example, kindly. This is an example of a non-formal activity in grade 8 book, Strand Devotional Acts. It's a non-formal activity. Kindly, Mr. White, I would like our participants to understand how this activity is non-formal. Please read for us the first two sentences, kindly. Mr. White. Mr. White. Okay, Mr. White.
6, working as a group. During clubs and society meetings, learners reminded each other the benefits of Solatul Istikhara. The secretary of the club shared with members some of these benefits.
So during the clubs and societies, learners shared benefits of Salatul Istikhara, and we can see that the learners are in a meeting, and this is a clubs or society meeting. So that becomes a non-formal activity. Now here we again have another feature, quick facts. It's a brief overview of the strand or the substrand. So in every strand or substrand, we have an area where we have called the quick facts, where the learner can quickly remember what they have learned. Then digital moment is a special time for the learners to interact with the technology. So our learners are under the 21st century skills. Digital literacy is one of the key elements. So our book provides sufficient opportunities for the learners to interact with the digital technology. Then the home activity, this was again one area that brought a big challenge before rationalization. However, we maintained it but limited its use. So the activities that are involved in the home activity are those that are to the ability of the learner and the parents. Thank you, Mr. White. Our next slide, please. Learners' self-tests. Our books provide adequate questions in 2 sections for the learners to test themselves and the knowledge that they have acquired. So we have section A, which are individualized activities. Learners are doing these activities as individuals. And then section B, learners can work in pairs or groups, or they can work as a class. So this section provides the learner room to practice outside the teaching and learning time. So these activities can be, the teacher can plan to do them outside the teaching time. Thank you. This is a sample learner's self-test. We picked one sample from one of our books, and as you can see, just below the sample where we have the page, it clearly says the book has been approved by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. So I want to assure our listeners today that we are presenting to them a title that has no comparable book to it. And that is why Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development chose to approve our titles. So this is a sample learner self-test. You'll find this self-test at the end of each strand in our books. Next slide, please. Keywords. This is a section in our books where we are explaining terminologies that are related to the concepts that have been taught in that strand. And these are termed as keywords because they are assisting our learners to contextualize and internalize the contents that they have been taught. Mr. White, don't worry, we are almost done with our presentation. The progress check has also been availed in our books. These are sample keywords and progress check that we have well outlined in our books. So for the progress check, the learner is able to progressively monitor their performance in line with the learning outcomes in that given strand or substrand. Thank you, Mr. White. Next. Now, I wish we had sufficient time, but we shall do as much as we can to ensure that we elaborate in most of the areas of strengths in our books. This is JSS revision series. We have been used to Top Mark series and a number of encyclopedia that are unmoderated in our market. But our publishing house is giving us an opportunity to interact with one unique junior secondary school revision series. And this revision series has given brief notes on the strands. Then it has also outlined formative and summative assessments. The summative assessment is specifically tailored for the grade 9, while the formative assessment section is on the specific grades, grade 7, 8, and 9. So the JSS revision series has well thought out authentic tasks. And I want you to mark the word authentic tasks, because the tasks that are given here today in line with the KICD and the NEC expectations are supposed to be authentic, covering the relevant skills, values, and competencies. Thank you, Mr. White. Next slide, please. Now, I don't intend to go through what a competence-based assessment is, because most of the teachers will be able to know this. A process of determining the capability of the learner to apply a set of related knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. Next slide, please. This is a definition of an authentic assessment, which is a process of examining the learner's performance and understanding on significant tasks. So we shall see that the concept of authentic task, as earlier shared, is on scenario, context, and core competencies. Scenario, context, and core competencies, which are within a long period of time should bring out the attitudinal and values expected of the learner as they carry out their day-to-day activities. Thank you, sir. Next slide. So as we are looking at the assessment, which is in relationship to our JSS. Remember, this assessment is in relationship with the JSS materials that we have just developed. We should assess to find out prior competencies or concepts, to identify the learning needs, to gather evidence on the learners for appropriate intervention, where some learners may have areas of strengths or weaknesses. Once we have assessed, we shall see how to intervene, then to enhance the learner's motivation and commitment to learning, and lastly, we will wish to monitor the learning progress. That is, as a teacher, what progress are you making through learning? Here we have a revised Bloom's taxonomy. Participants who are watching this is a revised Bloom's taxonomy. Remember, previously, Bloom's taxonomy was beginning with recall, comprehension, application, analysis, evaluation, and synthesis. But this is the revised one, which currently, as we prepare our assessment tests, and we are not calling them examinations because we have run away from the term examinations. So as we are preparing our assessment or evaluation tests, we have to follow the new or the revised Bloom's taxonomy. Kindly. Mr. White, I won't go through explanation of each. Kindly, next slide. These are sample authentic assessment tasks, and this has been picked from one of our books. Ramla is a name of a learner, presented possible solutions to the challenges facing Muslim NGOs, non-governmental organizations. And in her presentation, she made the following: reporting officials involved in corruption to authority, inadequate resources, government interference on activities of Muslim NGOs. Which one is true? So if you look closely to this task, the learner, kindly go back to the previous slide. The learner here is presenting us a scenario where he wants to look at challenges that are facing Muslim NGOs, and he is doing a presentation. So the aspect of doing a presentation is bringing out the competence of communication and collaboration. So this scenario is expected to guide the learner to come up with the correct choice or the correct answer, as opposed to the previous test, where the learner would have been asked directly, what are the challenges facing Muslim NGOs? That will be the previous question. Next slide, please. Features of our teacher's guide. How I wish we had a whole day to look at the teacher's guide, because that is the essence of the teaching. And without a teacher's guide, my dear teacher, it will be very, very difficult for us to implement the competence-based curriculum design. And I will urge all teachers, if the school cannot be able to provide for you a teacher's guide, kindly contact us, contact Kenya Literature Bureau, or visit a nearby major bookshop and get a teacher's guide, because we have given clear instructions on every learning activity and what the teacher is expected to do during that activity. So our teacher's guide has an introduction which provides an overview of all the learning areas. There are relevant pedagogies, the methods of teaching, and Islamic religious education has captured 4 major pedagogies. That is problem-solving approach, inquiry-based approach, integrated approach, and life approach. So through the activities that we have in our books, all these 4 pedagogies come out very, very clearly. Then we've also indicated how to care for the learners with special needs and differentiated learning. These are 2 different areas. Learners with special needs. We have those categories of learners who may face difficulties during learning due to their special need cases. And we are not talking about disability, remember? Disability was being used previously in the 844 curriculum, but currently these are learners who are able but differently, and that's why we are calling them learners with special needs. So we have provided that guideline. For example, if a teacher has learners who have mild visual impairment, we have told the teacher what to do during the lesson. Then learners, we have preparation for teaching and learning. So in our teacher's guide, there's a section where the teacher is told what to do or suggested the research, planning for the lessons, group formation, preparing teaching and learning resources. So my dear teacher, do not struggle when you want to prepare for those groups. Do not struggle when you want to prepare the teaching learning resources. Kindly get KLB Teacher's Guide, and you are going to be guided clearly without any effort on how to prepare for the lessons. Mainstreaming of core competencies, values, PCIs within the lesson. This has been a big problem at the onset of the CBC, where teachers did not know how to mainstream a core competence. They did not know how to mainstream a value or a PCI within a lesson. Our book sufficiently provides core competencies in each and every activity. And I want you to prove me wrong. When you get those books in the market, go through the activities that are there and tell us if there are any activities that lack core competencies. So all the activities that we have provided for, as shown in these examples, are guiding our teachers on how to mainstream the core competencies. For the values and the PCIs, they may come out as appropriate. Not in each and every activity shall we have a value or a PCI, but across the substrand, we must have a value. Across the strand, we must have a PCI. So the PCIs, the values, and the core competencies that have been suggested by our curriculum design have been incorporated in our books. However, situations may arise where the suggested core competencies, PCIs, or values are far much beyond or below the expectation. And as a teacher, of course, you can see which one is most appropriate depending on the activities that you have given your learners. Thank you very much, Mr. White. Next, please. Now, this is an area of assessment methods and tools with samples provided for each. Kindly teachers, when we come to matters assessment with competence-based curriculum, we cannot do without a good teacher's guide. We cannot do assessment without a good teacher's guide. And these are 14 assessment tools. Book provides an example of each assessment projects, journal, portfolio, checklist, rating scales, written tests, questionnaire, anecdotal records, learner profiles, observation schedule, oral and oral questions. All these examples have been sufficiently provided for in the KLB Skills Grow, KLB Top Scholar, and we can get them. Once you have the book, do not struggle, my dear teacher. Go to this section, get the samples that you want, tailor them to suit your lesson, tailor them to suit your activity, and can rest assured that you will thank me later that the book will have been provided the expected and even outdone. Next slide, please. There's a sample assessment. This is one of the sample assessment tool. We have just picked out an example of an assessment tool for the rating scale. And as indicated, we have the sections of the administrative details. We have, I can't see clearly from my side, Mr. White. After the administration details, of course, we have the core competencies, the values, the task that is expected of the learner, the learning activity, and then we have the achievement. Is it outstanding? Is it satisfactory? So all that has been clearly guided in our book. So you will get the sample assessment tool for each and every assessment tool that we have under the competence-based curriculum. Next slide, please, Mr. White. Mr. White. I told you, Mr. White, we are coming to the end. Just the previous one. KLB is a powerhouse. And I don't mince my words when I say KLB is a powerhouse. Go for the books by KLB. And I want to appreciate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this far in authorship. It has been a long journey of 15 years authoring for Kenya Literature Bureau, and we intend to push further. We are currently working on the grade 10. The designs are out. So myself with the team of authors that we are working with, we shall produce a very competitive book for the senior school, grade 10, 11, and 12. I appreciate my friend, learned friend, Mr. Kenneth Jumba. Kindly pardon me for the earlier misunderstanding before we began this presentation, but I think it is solved. Editors whom I have worked with, Mr. Nzamba, if you are watching, you remember at one point you were my editor before Madam Caro Mango just left. Mr. Murega, Moses Murega, remember, we worked together for quite some time. You guided me very well, and you guided my team very well. Mr. White, who is just currently my co-presenter, you have been a very supportive editor throughout our books, and we cannot give credit to these books without mentioning your name, Mr. White. And currently, our lead editor, Mr. Shukrani Kuzi, this man is dedicated. He may at point be misunderstood, but he's dedicated to his job. I really want to appreciate his finer details in looking at our books to ensure that there are minimal or no editorial mistakes as we bring out the book. Mr. Shukrani Kuzi, you are a committed friend to our work. Thank you very much. Our colleague authors, Farida, if you are watching me, you have done a wonderful job at grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Madam Mwanaidi of Makini School, you have been a very key supporter of our books up to grade 7. Hamisa of Aria in Nairobi, Aria Primary School, Madam Hamisa, thank you very much for the support. Always ready to work day and night. Madam, Mr. Kumala Juma, all the way from Kwale in Mombasa, your wisdom has been a great support for the team. Mariam of Nairobi Muslim Academy, a very committed lady. Amina Atitala of Mahad Academy in Nairobi. Muhammad Nalas of St. George's in Mombasa, very committed. Mohamud, all the way from Wajir. You have been a very good partner. An IT expert, Madam Mwanakombo from Mombasa, a dedicated lady. And lastly, but not least, Madam Fatuma Mwatamu, a new entry in the KLB authors list, who is currently teaching at Kagumo Teachers College. All these authors have really made our work wonderful. And if you have contacts of any of them out there, kindly
Thank you so very much, Mr. Idris. Thank you, Mr. Idris. I think I can see you are muted. Thank you so very much, Mr. Idris. We can now take questions. You can begin taking questions from your participants. We want to give your participants opportunity to ask you questions. Idris, do not disappear. Before Mr. Idris gives us questions, I want to ask one Mr. Lawrence Kibet Koech. He has asked the following question that should go to Mr. White Murage Jumba. He asks, I have a question, please. CSO Molo told us that we no longer have CBC, but we have CBE. Kindly explain to me so that I can pass the info. Kibet, could you possibly, I can give you the mic, Mr. Kibet, to ask, under what were you discussing? Were you discussing evaluation? Were you discussing how to set examination? That this is, what were you, how are you referring this CBC vis-a-vis CBE? Lawrence Koech, can you come on board? Yes, Lawrence. And thank you so very much, Lawrence. You've been very strong supporter. Give Lawrence the mic. Unmute, Lawrence. Lawrence, the mic is yours. Can you unmute? Lawrence, can you unmute? As Lawrence, we're waiting for Lawrence to unmute to give us the basis of this question. We can call on Zachary Mulwani. Zachary Mulwani, yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bwana Koech. Let me, first of all, take this time to appreciate your planning, the facilitation team in general from day one up to this being the last one. Maybe my concern goes directly to you, Bwana Koech. How can one become an agent or a salesperson for your team at county level? Thank you very much.
Zachary, write to me where you come from, then you got my number, reach me, then we can discuss that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got my number, reach me on that. Mr. There is Yusuf Maroka. Yusuf Maroka, you did say you participated in doing our first in the secondary book. This is, I appreciate, that is Maroka saying, I appreciate. This was informative, good job, others, and Kelby at large. I once did Arabic work crescent, and you never contacted me again for other duties. We shall, sir. Going forward, given your proximity to us through this webinar, we will give you more. So as you said, you are still open and up to the task. Good job. Thank you, Yusuf Maroka. Lomuatum Limo Michael. The mic is yours. Lomuatum Limo Michael. Mic is yours.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
My name is Lomatum Limo Michael. I am a student at the University of Nairobi, and I have a question. I have tried to look on the presentation on curriculum designs, but it seems that those from PP1 and PP2, I don't know whether we have a curriculum design for them in terms of religious education. And then my second question is, apart from teaching CRE in a junior school, can someone even go ahead and initiate a program to teach IRE? Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Michael. For your information, I can take on the availability of curriculum design. Confirmed, we have revised curriculum design and stroke rationalized curriculum design for PP1 and PP2, and it will cover the revision on the religious education, subject being among them CRE and IRE. It is there. Now, what you're asking for can be answered by Idris. Michael has asked, can someone teach IRE along with CRE?
Yes, Mr. Michael. IRE is Islamic religious education, and being Islamic religious education, it is a subject that can be learned at any level. Personally, I did Christian religious education in primary, but when I advanced to the university, I did Islamic religious education, and that's why I'm teaching it. We have teachers who are non-Muslims, even at the university, but they have learned the subject and they are teaching it. As long as you have the concepts, it is faith-based. Just teach education without fearing the faith. It will be okay. If you are well versed in the area, you have been well trained in the area, introduce the subject at any level and teach, Mr. Michael. There's no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Idris. One Samson Magembe asks query or observation ranks as follows. I'd like the facilitator to help me understand the lesson skills we take to class for CRE. Like when you for each lesson in CBC, I'm reading the way it is. Like when you, for each lesson in CBC, you should go to that lesson with knowledge, skill, and attitude. What are some of the skills in CRE? Caroline or Mr. Harrison can answer, or Murage. Skills required to be an efficient CRE teacher.
Thank you very much, Donna Justin. I want to tell Samson that the skills are usually derived from the learning, specific learning outcomes. For example, if they say the learner to describe how they cope with happy or sad feelings, so that is a skill that you need to develop in the learner to be able to describe. Thank you.
Mr. Koech.
Yes.
Mr. Koech.
Yeah.
Just to add up on what Mr. White has said, that these
Yes.
skills come from the learning outcomes and the activities that the learners are engaged in. And in religion, there are a variety. For example, in IRE, if the learners are memorizing the verses, then there is a skill they'll have to read. They'll have to recite. That's a skill of reading, a skill of reciting, a skill of memorizing, a skill of writing. So from the learning outcome, we derive the skills that the learner is going to work with out of that lesson.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, our able panelists, our participants for today. We want to close the question and answer session so that we may move to the last end. Now I want to assure our participants for all the webinars or online trainings that we shall issue certificates. One example certificate which I'm holding here will be for religious education, and we shall have CRE/IRE. This is an example of a certificate we shall send online. So we do not want to assume that you will understand from our writing that we will issue. We have designed certificates that are good, and it indicates the areas we have tackled. So kindly be patient as we finalize on this soft e-certificates, they will be issued. That is a part which I wanted clarity to come to you. And for appreciating Kenya Literature Bureau for organizing these online workshops or trainings, we say thank you for being a participant, and quality for that matter, so engaging. Kenya Literature Bureau will continue to stand out. Before I hand over the mic to our general managers, Jumba and Mr. Mutunga, I want to assure the teachers who are in the hall and probably others who may be reaching us on YouTube that Kenya Literature Bureau has published 100% of the rationalized books and the revised books, and we use the bookshop model for book distribution. and they will be available at your nearest bookshop. For instance, one Solomon Mogeni from Kisii, Imagidia JSS School, says his outlet is Mosamad, and I know Mosamad, a very good client of Kenya Literature Bureau. They will avail your books for you. So we have grade 9 ready. We are continuously printing the balances of the rationalized and the revised books. So they will be available for uptake anytime from now. Grade 9 are available. Rationalized will be available next, which will be before the close of the month or early in December. And everything for the new year will be available up to and including grade 8. Our request, and we beseech you every other minute, is that you sample Kenya Literature Bureau books. Sample Kenya Literature Bureau books. They will be good. They are good for learning, for teaching and learning of learners, by learners. We've printed for you 100% of the curriculum course materials. So the point is, we have availed the books. No publisher, I can assure you, no publisher has availed the books more than Kenya Literature Bureau, because as one of us has said the first time, that whenever you're looking for any material, be it Chinese Mandarin, you look for it from Kenya Literature Bureau. Be it Arabic, you look for it from Kenya Literature Bureau. Other learning areas like IRE, French, is nearly standard. Not to mention pre-tech, any other common course book is nearly standard, and they are available at Kenya Literature Bureau. We request you, using your bookshops, to acquire our books. Acquire our books because they will be available. One other thing I want to request you is that for those schools, and I'm happy for Mr. Solomon Mogeni from Kisii, you are not issued your book list because you do not have sufficient information. Now you have sufficient information and you have appreciated Kenya Literature Bureau. Go ahead and issue. Reach me on my address, my phone address for the various, for my contact, and reach me to know how you can get your books and even to get the price list. We will ensure that they're available. So change the book list that you issued wrongly. Every member who is here and who is hearing through YouTube or otherwise, get the books to be used in the new year to be Kenya Literature Bureau publications, and we do so through Bookshop. We shall continue to inform you of the various changes through various webinars we shall be organizing at the county or sub-county level. We will continue to be an information center for quality teaching. We beseech you, even with what you've had, to continue to procure Kenya Literature Bureau resource materials. I want to mount the contact for our team, whom you can reach. Sales team, whom you can reach. They can give you, I hope the contact for our sales team is clear on the screen. Those are the contacts of our team. Most of you have my contact on the flyer, but now from number 2, we have Mr. Nyiri all the way. These contacts, reach them, reach these officers. They will be of use in acquiring correct information across the entire country. We want to request you and thank you for the support you are giving Kenya Literature Bureau. We do not want to take it for granted. Even as I hand over my mic to GM Publishing, please pick the contacts. GM Publishing, Mr. Jumba, give your remarks before the closing remarks by GM Finance and Commercial Services.
Thank you.
Mr. Jumba.
Thank you very much. Bwana Idrisi Al-Akhbar done a good job. And our teachers, we are happy that are there with us. And you continue getting this crucial information. The team of editors, Murega, Whiteman, Kuzi, thank you for the good work you are doing to ensure that we reinforce what our teachers are using in the field. Mine is very brief. Lunch hour, I know Mazuk wants to go to.
No, it is Swala.
Is preparing for Swala. So I'll be very brief so that he does not miss. Generally, I'll wish to ask our teachers to ensure that without avoidance of doubt, that there is no other book for Islamic learning that is comparable to KRB's from PP1 all the way to grade 9 now. So I request that you get copies of these books. They are near your bookshops. If you go to any bookshop and you get none is available, ask them to make the orders from KRB. They will help you. Further is that KRB and KICD, we are sister organizations when it comes to the curriculum designs, because we've been to various places in the Republic of Kenya. You'll get some teachers are even still referring to a syllabus, and yet we have designs. So if you are not sure of the design you are using, we have our team of sales reps. We are the people who print and distribute the designs on behalf of KICD. So to be very sure of the latest design that is now being used, please just refer to our sales reps. We will confirm the information for them so that you are not using the wrong tools to address the needs of your learners. Otherwise, we are happy. It has been a good fortnight of our teachers. We are very grateful for the good feedback we are getting. I can just see one from Makungu in Vihiga, that our books are very accessible to the learners. So we are encouraging you, tell other teachers who have not used these publications that we are there for you. Otherwise, I wish you well in your professional activities and hope that we shall be engaging. For those who wish to be authors, we have our sales reps, our colleagues out there. If you have stories that you can also be used to reinforce the teaching of IRA, the exploits of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are at liberty to reach those teachers or to reach our sales reps with those stories, which we can also use to encourage the value of reading amongst our IRA learners out there. So I welcome you to use our publications, and any other feedback you have. We are not saying that we are the end of knowledge, but if you have any actionable feedback, don't hesitate also to just write to us. We will engage you. We will even come to your station, engage you, so that we are able to see and to find out what is it that there is that we can use to improve even further our learning materials. Thank you, Coach. We will continue engaging, and I think I wish to end there and wish our teachers a good time in their engagements. Thank you very much. Mr. Koech?
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Jumba. I was trying to get to unmute myself. Thank you for your observation and your support, publishing and production manager and your entire team. We do not take your support for granted. We at the marketing division say thank you so very much, along with our teachers. Mr. Francis Mutunga, may I request you to close the session, to close the entire the webinars. Francis Mutunga.
Thank you, Justin. Are you getting me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity. First, I want to really appreciate the Almighty, because were it not for the Almighty, we just planned ourselves, and it has been a success throughout the cohort 1 and cohort 2 of the webinars. I'm very sure that the participants have gotten value for their time, because now here we are not paying, so it's not value for money, but it's value for time. I want to really appreciate so much all the participants, the teachers, and even other participants who joined to get a share of this knowledge that we were imparting. I want to believe that you came in as a different person and you come out of this webinar as another different person. Now you are knowledgeable. You have gotten the information as to how the new rationalized design, the new rationalized areas have been set, the new learning outcomes, learning experiences. And I believe that you will be in a position, you are now armed, and you will be in a position to impart knowledge in the CBC way of this new CBC and the rationalized CBC. So we really can't take it for granted that you sacrificed your time. We know this is a holiday. This is when you're supposed to be with your family, but you really sacrifice time to join in and listen. And we really thank you and appreciate you. The thousands of people who have really participated in our webinars, we really request God to bless you and to really give you what is needed in this life, because we truly are very appreciative that you joined KLB and you also joined these webinars. To our team of experts, our facilitators, our authors, we are really indebted. You know, you have been with us along the journey because our journey started in 1947. So along the journey, at whichever point that you joined, you have been with us to cook what is quality for the children of Kenya. We really appreciate your time also, that you are able, besides within your busy schedule, you are able actually to get in and be in a position to disseminate the knowledge on this rationalized and the revised curriculum. So we can't take it for granted also. We thank you and we request God to also bless you abundantly. You have been our experts. You are aware that what we usually cook at KLB, what we usually develop is quality material. Because for us, it is not about the profits. Being a government body, we are charged with ensuring that we have quality education, and also we promote the accessibility to education. So truly, we are very grateful. To our team of editors who are able co-panelists and co-facilitators, you are our experts. You are experts in the subjects that you read, and we really want to appreciate you and even appreciate also your time, that you took time even to prepare together and guide also our facilitators and authors. So we really appreciate that you have been able to support, because without your support, we wouldn't have really achieved much. But you have taken your time and you have supported these webinars. To our sales and marketing team, who have actually coined and who have actually developed these webinars, who have come up with this program, who have also mobilized the teachers, the participants, and everybody else. We really thank you. We know you have done a lot for us to achieve the success that we have achieved today. It is not a mean achievement. It calls for a sacrifice to mobilize. You know, we were not inviting using invitation cards. We were just inviting using social media and other WhatsApp groups. And you really mobilized a great number of teachers, thousands of teachers who have participated in these webinars. And we really indebted unto you. So we thank you so much. We can't forget the KLB management who actually gave us the platform, to really carry out these or conduct these webinars. We really are appreciative because without that, we would not maybe have achieved what we would have achieved. So thank you so much. The team from Jumba Production and Publishing, we are really appreciative. Now, in closing, and also Justin, who was the team leader here, together with the team, you have really done a wonderful job. It is a job well done, and we really appreciate that. One thing I want to also mention is that KLB, which was started in 1947, is the home of quality and affordability. You will realize that most of our books, or nearly all our books, have not less than 4 authors, so that we are able to get a variety of knowledge from all the authors, so that when we mix that and we develop that book and cook it, then it becomes quality. You are aware that even for the participants, KLB is predominantly known for quality textbooks, because our focus, like I said, is not just on the profits. Our focus is on the improvement of, or the imparting of quality education and also accessibility. Another point that you need also to know is that KLB is the home of affordability. It's the home of affordability. If you go to the bookshops today, I know you have seen our prices. Our prices are rock bottom, because for us, we are promoting that access to education for everyone. And therefore, when you patronize KLB, you can never be wrong. You can never be wrong on those two particular fronts. We have also a distribution network across the whole country. And for us, we are open for business. If you go to our website, we will be in a position to know even how you can become, or even put up a bookshop, and we can register you and supply you. Jumba has mentioned that how you can also become our author. We are really looking for these talents and the experts, so that we can continue to cook and develop what is to be built as very high quality books for high quality education. I must say that you are aware, I know that there are teachers who say without a KLB book, you do not have a book. And truly we thank you. We thank you for having patronized this home of quality and affordability, having patronized for so many years. We have been allowed for over 60 years. We are older than the Republic of Kenya. And therefore, having all that expertise and all that experience is really a plus to the education. You are aware that KLB is under the State Department of Education, the Ministry of Education, and therefore for us, we cannot just publish for the sake of publishing. When our books are approved, most of our books now, around 97%, they are all approved. And I tell you, it is quality that goes into those books. When we have a lot of examples, a lot of practice notes, and you will find the tool of teaching in our KLB teachers guides. The teachers guides are teacher friendly, and they'll give you tools to be in a position to impart knowledge. They'll give you guidance to be in a position to guide also the student. So we really are appreciative of the team that also develops that. These are our facilitators, the others. They know that our bar in terms of quality, we have set it at a very high note. And we want you to be consumers. We request you to be consumers of these products. Lastly, we are coming up. We have already developed. We are coming up with the revision series. We have JSS revision series. Now this revision series is going to be grade 7, 8, and 9. And these are not the encyclopedias. Please note, these are not the encyclopedias. Actually, the books are being submitted to KICD for approval. And what we have, the mode that we have taken is being a revision series for a given learning area. Let's say English. So you take English from grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. We have notes, and we also have sample questions. We have practice examples, and you will find this to be a very good tool, even for the revision of the students and even for use by the teachers. So this is what we are calling as coming soon. And definitely when we start selling around December, then please kindly we request that you get a copy of the same. You ensure that the schools that you are teaching, in, they also get a copy of these revision books. We have a lot of materials that have helped. Even reference materials, we have a lot of them. So we really want to request that you get these tools, and these tools will help you improve even how you'll impart knowledge into the education, into the kids, the children of Kenya. So I wish to stop there and mention that, yes, as Justin had mentioned, that we are going to issue virtual certificates for every participant who registered with us. We are going to issue those certificates so that now, because we have finalized the webinars, we are going to start issuing them, and you will receive through the emails that you supplied during registration. Another aspect that maybe I just need to emphasize, although it was touched by Jumba, is that for us, we are the sellers, not only the printers. We are also selling the KICD curriculum designs. We have a partnership agreement with KICD, and we are selling at the same price as that of KICD. So you are also going to be finding these books in the bookshops, and therefore you will not have a problem. And of course, whatever we'll have printed is the latest. And I would also like to maybe just caution that please don't buy curriculum designs from the streets, because there have been a lot of iterations. There have been a lot of amendments and revisions to the curriculum designs that are developed by KICD. So if you buy whatever is on the street, then you are going to endanger, because you will not be having the latest version of the curriculum design. So kindly, in case you require any, then our shops are open. The bookshops will also supply the same, and we will be happy to partner with you. You are aware that we have also been partnering with counties, even for the lower grades, that is the PP1, PP2, and you are still going to do the same. So I wish to acknowledge all of you and really appreciate that you have had time to be with us. I don't know whether there is a teacher that I had said that I'll mention here, because at least he told me I'm listening to your webinars and they are very good. and this is Francis of Bishop Pelo in Muranga. So greetings to all, even to the head teacher, who is Lucy, Sister Lucy, that is. So we really appreciate your patronizing. Lastly is to also pass our greetings to the head teachers of your schools. And even if you are a head teacher, please feel that we have appreciated you. We have appreciated all your schools, and we have appreciated all your teachers and learners. We are really, really thankful. Final, last but not the least, we wish to take this opportunity on behalf of the managing director to wish you happy holidays. Please keep safe. We will still be here next year. We pray that we will be here in one body, so that hata kama ni hiyo Krismasi ama holidays tuzipate tu kwa utaratibu. Otherwise, I take this opportunity to pass my final appreciation to all of you. And on behalf of KLB Managing Director, the board and the staff, we really appreciate that. Given another opportunity, we'll see what we can also organize. So with those many remarks, I wish to declare these webinars officially closed. Now you have our contacts. Let us engage. The feedback that you have given us, we have really appreciated, and we are going to act. If you need to give us any feedback, kindly use our contacts, and we will appreciate that feedback. Because for us, we are a public sector company, and therefore public participation is very important. Feedback from the public is very important. And with that, we thank God. I take it back to Justin. Wish you well, even for the rest of the day, and nice weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, our General Manager, Mr. Francis Mutunga, for the very rich closing remarks. I do not want to add any further to that. We appreciate you for joining us, along with the GM, Publishing and Production. Thank you, our teachers, on my own behalf and on the behalf of my team. 17 members scattered across the country want to wish our teachers a Merry Christmas and happy 2020, productive 2025. And I always say, powered by Kenya Literature Bureau through its quality publications, and especially Top Scholar Grade 9 and the various rationalized publications. May God bless you. May I request one of us to close with a word of prayer? One of us to close with a word of prayer. Can someone close with a word of prayer?
I'm here.
Karibu.
Asante. Tuamini.
Who is that?
This is Zachary Muloni from Trans Nzoia.
Thank you, Zachary. Asante sana, Zachary.
Yeah, tuamini. Baba wetu, tunakushukuru kwa kipindi na majira ya mchana huwa leo. Umekuwa mwema katika mafunzo yetu tulipoanza juma lililopita. Umbali huu umetuleta ni kwa ajili ya neema zako. Asante Baba, ni kwa ajili ya wachapishaji wetu wa KLB kwa kuhakikisha kwamba tumekuwa na mafunzo haya. Tashukuru pia ni kwa ajili ya wawasilishaji wote ambao wamejitolea na kujinyima muda wao ili kutupa mawaidha na mafunzo ambayo tunajua kwamba yanaenda kuwa ya manufaa katika maisha yetu na kazi yetu kama walimu. Pia nashukuru ni kwa ajili ya afya ya walimu wote ambao wameshiriki katika webinar hii tangu ilipozinduliwa juma lililopita mpaka wakati huu. Tunaomba kwamba neema zako zitazidi kuwa pamoja nasi hata tunapoondoka katika mkutano huu. Katika mkutano huu tumepata marafiki ambao Baba tutazidi kuwasiliana. Uongozi katika KLB mikononi mwako. zidi kuwabariki na hata kuwapa maarifa zaidi, ili wanapopangilia warsha nyingine tuweze kupata nafasi ya kushiriki na kuchangia katika mijadala. Baba, tazama tumefika mwisho. Tunasema ni asante. Sio eti sisi ni wazuri sana, lakini kwa ajili ya neema na wema wako ambao umeona kwamba ilitupasa tuwe hapa wakati na majira kama haya. Tunapoondoka kwa pamoja nasi wakati huu, pia nashukuru na kuchukua nafasi kuu watakia walimu wote katika nchi hii, wafanyikazi wote katika nchi hii na hata uongozi wa nchi hii, kila mmoja awe na likizo iliyo njema ya Krismasi na mwaka mpya wa 2025 yenye mafanikio. Baba, sisi tumeomba tu kama wanadamu, lakini najua kwamba wewe utatutendea kama Mungu. Tunaomba haya machache kwa Yesu aliye Bwana kisha mwombezi wetu. Amen.
Amen. Thank
Amen.
you, Zachary. Amen. Thank you so
Thank you
very
so
much.
much, Zachary. Asanteni sana and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. The session has closed. Participants can leave at their pleasure. I'm seeing the number growing. Yes, the number should be going down. Yes, thank you so very much. May God bless all of you as you go home.